Hello everyone, and welcome back to Galactic Mystic. I'm your host Candace, and today we're going to be diving into how my moon sign helped me love me as well as bring in balance back into my life. Now, I don't know if you heard any much of my story, but I do want to dive into how I was able to really bring back the love that was clearly missing in my life for a very long time. And I'm hoping that this episode isn't too long, but at the same time, oh well, because I love to talk. So if you are open to hearing if you can locate your moon sign and utilize that into your day-to-day reality, then I am encouraging you to do so, because if you are not knowing how to really express the way that you love, express how you want to be loved, the nurture, the nourishing, the needing to communicate your emotions, to connect to your intuition or your femininity, then I don't know what else to say, but I really do hope that you enjoyed this episode, because I'm going to give you a little bit of story about me and then how you can do the same thing for yourself. Now, I do just want to first awfully say that I never really knew that utilizing astrology would be a good way for me to really find me. It was probably about 5 years ago that I really dive into astrology. And again, this kind of goes in with my awakening, if you will. And it all started because my son came to me and said, "Mom, you're not the same before. Now you're very sad and you're in your room and you're crying a lot and you think I can't hear you, but I can absolutely hear you. And I need my mom back." And because of that, I decided to really look at my life differently, look at how and to figure out why my mind or why my emotions were not coming across and why I felt so empty. And so because I am an avid occult lover, I decided to take a different approach. And I decided to really look at my paradigm first. And by me looking at my paradigm, it made me look into more of energy, how the brain works, how subconscious things would come onto play to really display how you view life on a day-to-day basis. And with understanding that type of mind fuck, I decided to really dive in deeper. And the more I dove in deeper into energy and frequency and things like that, it led me to kind of understand a little bit of my own natal chart. I remember watching a tarot reading, and the tarot reader said, if you don't know your natal chart, what are you doing? Because even though you may know your sun sign, that may not be accurate per the different type of charts that are out there. So if you don't know the different types of charts and you really don't know your own energy, how can you go about your day to day? And I was like, damn, that's a good point. So I decided to look at my natal chart. Well, I first decided to look at what different types of charts there were. And then I found out the sidereal natal chart. And I started to really dive into sidereal, became an uber geek about that. And then once I understood what sidereal meant and how it came from or where it came from and the points of astrology and yada, 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 that's when I decided to actually find or create or produce my own natal chart for myself, so I can start studying me and start understanding me at a different perspective, the perspective of the astrology, the perspective of the planets above. Who was I? What was I the moment that I took a breath on this earth in this matrix? And so when I looked through my sidereal chart, I realized that my top 3 make more sense to me than anything else my entire life has ever did. I realized that I'm still a sun Scorpio, my moon sign is a Libra, and my rising sign is a Virgo. Me being a sun Scorpio, it made sense to me about how I'm so different but intuitive, very knowledgeable, psychic, and very mysterious, and how people always said to me, you're different, you're weird, but I don't get you, but I get you. It was a different type of feel. And then with my rising sign, it made sense on how much I crave organization, how I love to-do lists and routines, how me having a structure, helps me kind of cultivate or navigate my day-to-day life. And when I read my moon sign, it literally made me go, God damn. This is why I have been asking for all of my relationships, from family to friends to platonic or even just romantic, how I've always asked or how I always wanted it to make sense, both mentally and emotionally. And if you don't know, the Libra sign represents balance. It represents justice. It represents beauty and relationships and divinity and balance at itself. And it is an air sign. And the moon represents the feminine. It represents emotion, intuition, the subconscious, the things that we are craving or how we want to express ourselves in an emotional standpoint. And when I realized that, it made sense to me. It made sense to me on how everything with anyone, if it didn't make sense to me mentally, but made sense to me emotionally, how I was so fucking confused. How I so did not realize why did I not get what this person is saying, but their actions are saying something different. Or maybe is that I get it mentally, but emotionally I wasn't understanding why they couldn't understand from my point of view. I can hear their point of view and I'm reiterating that to them in a very articulate way, but they can never really get me at a core. But then it was also understanding that I couldn't really explain myself at a core because I was so confused about the emotional and mental aspects when really trying to express myself that way. So when I saw what Libra moon means and how that has affected my own life and my own personal journey, it literally made me feel more at ease. It literally made me feel more sane. It literally made me feel more why I was so misunderstood by so many people and why they always took my context for something more deeper, or maybe they were trying to switch it up, or maybe because it is an air sign that I am, that's why I was so wrapped up in other people's bullshit. I was so susceptible to people's narcissistic, emotional, controlling, manipulative ways. And why I always felt like I was stuck, or why couldn't this work out, or how come they don't understand me. I just literally felt more seen. I felt more heard. It made me understand the logistics of even my own style. Libra is ruled by Venus, and Venus is the epitome of beauty, essence, femininity, being oneself, and then cultivating that. There's something within me that really, now that I look back, it really is something within me that I have a very different style with myself, and it makes sense. Like there's days where I just want to wear a baggy t-shirt and some sweats and totally be in love with my tomboy style, and which I think is heavy on my Scorpio energy. And then there are times where I'm just like, I really want to be a lady. I really want to dress up. I really want to feel that femininity. I want to get dolled up for no reason. I want to feel pretty. I want to be spoiled. I want to receive gifts. I want. And it even makes more sense on my style in that aspect, to where I do crave wearing dresses, but only when I want to, not necessarily when I have to or when I'm told to. When I want to really show myself to my partner, or be sexy in some lingerie, or actually wear heels, which, by the way, I totally still cannot fucking do. I mean, I try, but I'm definitely not the best when it comes to wearing heels. My forte are definitely boots and sneakers, flip-flops, things of that nature. So, even now when I think about it, I feel like I'm rambling, but as I'm looking at myself now, my style, it is a reflection of just how my two energies right there really play upon me. And I feel like my third style, which is the Virgo rising within me, is kind of like my bitch resting face. Like people really say that I look mean or angry, or they look like they can't really figure me out because I look stuck or something like that. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm chilling. It's just my Virgo rising. Just, I really have a bullshit detector, and I don't really play, with the funk and shit. So it's very funny how when I looked at just those top three, how much I was able to really find myself in that caliber. And when I was finding all this information out about 5 years ago, 4 years ago, it really helped me understand me at a core, like I was saying. It helped me understand my emotions a lot better. And because of that, that's why I decided to really install more self care into my routine. I really wanted to embrace that energy of Libra, of Venus, of, beauty and essence, and just taking care of myself. And that's when I started to really find ways or to start putting routines in place for myself that really helped me find me in different areas. Meaning, I really wanted to allow myself to buy more beauty products. I really wanted my skin to be more flawless. So I took the initiative to really find out what was going on with my skin, to buy more products that were actually good for me and not necessarily just like the grocery store stuff. So that was a self-care for me. I really took the time to learn about my skin. I took the time to really learn about the products that I was putting onto it. Was it drying it out? Was it making it more harder for me to get rid of these blackheads? I started to really pay attention to the type of makeup I was using, and are they eco-friendly, and are they sustainable? Is it actually helping my skin, or is this just like a gimmick for them to really sit there and say that this is clean, but it really isn't? That step alone made me really focus my attention back in myself to really love me from my inside out. And getting even further into the skin aspect, I started to really love my skin tone a lot better. I am African American. I have absolutely been a victim of racism my entire life. It was very hard for me to really understand why certain people hated me just because my skin tone is darker than theirs. It was very hard for me to understand why certain people only liked me because of my skin tone, how that was a fetish for them. It also made me realize on how I was looking at my own beauty when it came to hair, and not really trying to let how other people may see me as a boy affect that. I really looked at me. I looked at my skin. I looked at my head. Because, if you don't know, I'm bald headed. I'm a baldy. So I was really looking at myself in that caliber. And another thing that I was doing was looking at my body. I had a very difficult 2 pregnancies with my 2 kids. And this is coming from a girl who was 115 when she first got pregnant with her first son. By the end of the pregnancy at 9 months, I was 200 pounds, stretch marks everywhere, face blew up. I didn't see me. I didn't feel pretty. I didn't feel like I truly belonged anywhere. My husband at the time didn't like me. Went through a divorce, get married again, didn't feel like that person really liked my body either, but it was also how I looked at myself. So again, self-care. So I really looked at my body in a different aspect to really view me differently. I started to learn more about eating healthier. I started to also learn that, Virgo rules the gut. And if I was having these stretch marks and, a pudge and a pooch and not really feeling sexy and looking at my body that way, I started to really learn more about how I can help heal my my belly. That one mostly came again at the time after my second, because during my second pregnancy, I decided to do everything right. I ate healthy, I exercised. But again, after pregnancy, I was about 200 pounds, and it was just me having to re-look at myself again and be like, what is going on? Like, I don't get it. And it took me some time to really look at myself in the mirror, to really look at me and say, I love you full-heartedly, stretch marks and all, pudge and all, skin tone difference and all. So just looking at my body and looking at my skin and looking at my baldy head, that was a self-care for me that came from me loving my energy, loving my femininity, loving my moon sign. Another one of the self-care things that I started to develop was doing things that I really cared about and not giving a shit what other people thought about it. which really was about my spirituality. Within my spirituality, I really did find me. As much as I really was at the time, F God, F the universe, because of the things that I've gone through in my past, when I really started to learn about my paradigm and shifting the dynamic, I wanted to do things that felt good to me. And at that time, what felt really good to me was my spirituality and figuring out what the fuck that meant. Is it tarot? Is it herbs? Is it astrology? Is it doing magic? Is it learning about the chakras? Is it, what about it is making it me? And then do I have to question at it? Or do I just embrace it because it makes me feel good? Do I show this to other people? Do I allow other people in to see my world of spirituality and how it's making me feel good? How it's making me feel very beautiful? And at this time, this is when I had my first podcast called The Butterfly's Cocoon. And on my social media, I would post like journaling prompts. I think I did like a 30-day journaling prompt for everyone to join me. And I would start doing like the tarot cards, and I was showing them how I just started and I'm shuffling. And, I was really just utilizing that because that was a part of my self-care. That was a part of me finding me and really loving that version of me. And by me doing so, it really helped me find a balance. It really helped me understand my blockages about myself, about past relationships, about my family, about how I viewed life, on how I never felt understood by friends, on why I never really had good friends, why I always felt like I was alone, an outsider. Literally, me finding my Libra moon sign opened up so many doors for me, and that just aspect alone. Not to mention, it literally helped me understand how to really start to communicate to other people my voice, my wants, my desires, what I don't want, what I would like to receive, what I don't want to receive, how I want to be perceived moving forward, what I'm willing to accept and what I'm not willing to accept, and really vocalizing that. I also have to say, me understanding that portion took a lot for me to understand my Chiron, because my Chiron is also in Gemini. And Gemini, you have to speak, you have to really communicate your thoughts and emotions, despite what other people may be saying or thinking, or you're fearfully based about it. And so, me understanding that with my moon, it really helped me understand that in order for me to get past this fear or this worry or doubt about how other people may perceive my emotions, I have to first accept the fact that I have emotions and that what I feel is valid. And just because they may not really understand it doesn't necessarily mean that it is wrong. So by me understanding my moon sign of being both a Libra, or, as a Libra, the mental and the emotional aspect it takes, I had to learn to start to communicate that in a better way, and which led me to more journaling. Being an air sign, it is communicative, right? It is mind. It is having to get your thoughts out on paper so you can really communicate that. And so I really, again, started to utilize that into my day to day. I started to allow myself to really journal, to meditate, because again, of that air energy, that spiritual energy, it allowed me to kind of hone in on my own thoughts to get the clarity that I need in order for me to move forward and to articulate that to people that are important to me in my life, whether that was my children, whether that was my partner, whether that was family, friends. This moon sign alone literally pushed me to understand that I have to say it despite. And so it really helped me bring a balance within my own way of communication and allowing other people to understand and see me in a way that I never thought I could actually explain to people before. I have to say, I am really grateful for me really taking that time to learn more about my moon sign, because it literally pushed me to find me in different ways, and it pushed me to really find my femininity. I can honestly say now, 4 years later, that because of that hard work and dedication and consistency that I chose to prove and give to myself, it has helped me to really find my voice, to find how I want to be loved, how I expect other people to love me, how I can communicate my emotions to not only my kids, but also allow them to communicate their emotions to me, because I'm allowing that balance aspect of it. I really learned what it meant to be. I really learned what it meant to. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. I really learned what it meant. Oh my gosh, y'all. I learned what it means to really vocalize my emotions to people. That was hard. And I have to say, my children, it was hard for me to do, because my oldest and I had a very hard ways of communicating. Shout out to Isaiah. If you're listening to this, baby, I love you so, so much. You and I, our communication style has changed dramatically in the last 2 years, because of this aspect alone. I didn't really know how to explain to him what I was going through, because I was going through so many changes as a mother, as a single mom, as leaving a physical abusive household, then going into an emotional one, trying to navigate being with a partner who's controlling, but also trying to allow their relationship to grow, even though both of them did not really get along, to still be a mother to another younger baby, to navigate mother issues, the baby daddy issues, and society and friends that weren't really there. So when I was really learning more about communication and understanding that my son is also an air sign, it helped me understand that communicating our thoughts and emotions are important. And despite what it may go through, we have to talk about it, which is also one of my wounds that I experienced when I was a child. I was never able to really talk to my parents. I was never able to really express my true emotions or feelings, because, you live in a household like that, you're told to shut up and sit down and not expect to say anything, but to just listen. And that's exactly how I was doing to my child, subconsciously not knowing that. And the minute I started to really understand that I was repeating these negative behaviors to my child, that's when I really understood that I have to be the barrier of breaking that generational curse of how communication is displayed between a parent and a child. And so because of that aspect of me just finding out, that communication is important on that level, to show my son that it's okay to be vulnerable, to tell my child that it's okay to talk to me regardless of if it's a cuss word or not, that vocalizing his emotional pain or his thoughts is important, because at that age I was learning that it was finally important. And so because of that transition for me, he and I have been able to really develop a more stronger, beautiful relationship just because of that alone. So when I tell you that you learning your moon sign is a beautiful factor for you understanding you at its core, I'm telling you that because I'm proof of the pudding. Especially if you have never really been able to vocalize your own voice, understanding your moon sign or how you want to say your emotions is a beautiful way for you to start. So in hindsight, me learning this, me incorporating this into my day-to-day has really allowed me to find me, as I said at the beginning of this episode. I was able to really bring balance back into my life, and the balance that I needed, case in point, was me to learn my Libra energy. My Libra energy allowed me to really see how I needed that balance, that basic balance of being able to vocalize my emotions, to vocalize my thoughts, to really say it, to not be fearful, to then shift that focus to inward work, to heal those generational curses, to embrace the femininity in me, and to allow my femininity to be different and not be what society's telling me what I should look like, but to really look at my body, my mind, my soul at a deeper core level. And so as we're at the end of this episode, I really want to encourage you guys to do the same. If you guys would like to check out your moon sign, I'm going to have the link for you to check it out by looking at your sidereal natal chart. I highly suggest that you look at sidereal just because to me, in my eyes, it's a little bit more accurate than you would of you doing a tropical astrology. Vedic astrology is very intense. To me, it's like the college of you getting your PhD and all that shit. Like, it's super hard in my opinion. But if you want to go for it, by all means, do so, baby. But I'm going to go ahead and leave the link down below if you would love to try out or to just see what your sidereal natal chart will say about you, because I bet that you will probably learn a lot more about yourself than you ever had before. As I'm saying this, my battery on my laptop said 55%, and on the clock it says 4:24. So I think this is a beautiful time for us to end this episode. I want to thank you guys for listening and paying attention to me as I provide my information about how my Libra moon sign has helped me find self-love as well as bring balance into my life. Make sure you are following us on all social media platforms, as well as the Occult Media production, as this production was provided to you by Occult Media. Thank you so much for listening. I'm sending you guys so much love and light, and I'll catch you guys at our next episode. Bye, guys.